Hi, I'm Phil from TurboMini.com, and in this video I'm going to give you a full step-by-step guide to completely rebuilding your Turbo SU carburetor, so stay tuned. Right, so here we have one rather tired looking old Turbo SU. So we're going to strip it down, rebuild it and put it back into service. So first things first is you want to probably drain the oil out of the dash pot. So if you just unscrew the top, take that out, pour the contents out into something. This one is already empty, so it's not a problem. Next, there's 3 screws that retain the dash pot. These have already actually been changed for slot head screws. If you can see there, they've already been changed at some point, but they usually come, if we have a look at the float ball, with these silly tamper-proof screws here, which are a pain in the backside. The way to get those out is to either take a hacksaw blade, if you haven't got the appropriate tool, is to take the hacksaw blade and cut a slot in them, or what I tend to use is a Dremel type tool with a little cutting wheel in. Find that easier to get in, and just cut a little slot, and then they can just be removed with a normal slotted screwdriver. So the dashpot usually has those on, but someone's obviously changed these at some point, so nice and easy, no cutting involved. So we just screw them out, 3 of them, and then we can lift the dashpot off. Right, so that's all 3 out. Careful when you lift the dashpot off, it will have a needle on the end and you don't want to bend it. So you can either remove it, simply comes out if you take that, undo that screw there, and then it comes out with like a collet thing around the top, and you can remove the needle, or you can just obviously leave it in place and put it somewhere safe. So we'll just pop it at the back there, it's not going to go anywhere, but you don't want to get it bent, otherwise you've got to buy a new needle. So that's the first part. So next part, go underneath and take these out. As I say, these have already been cut, as I explained before, so they're easy to remove now, but it can be a bit of a pain. So if we pop them out, so it's just 4 screws. One's already actually missing out of this, so someone's had this in bits before. Take that out. Take that one out. It's usually a right mess in here, so if we take this off, that one's actually not so bad, but you can see on the float there where the old fuel's evaporated and left like a sticky varnish kind of finish on it. What I'm going to do as I go is actually start putting the bits I'm removing into a little plastic tub here. Most of them are actually in the rebuild kit, but we'll put them all to one side anyway in case we need any of it. It saves it rolling around on a worktop anyway, so put that to one side and put the float ball with the dash pot there. So next part is to actually remove the jet. Right, I need to take the screw out now that holds the bimetallic strip in, and then you can release the jet. So screw that out. In our tub, we will actually need that later, that doesn't come in the kit. Pull the bimetallic strip, there we go. There's the jet. There is a new jet in the kit, but we will need the bimetallic strip, so again we'll just put it to one side. The next bit will be to release the actual float that sits in there, so we'll do that now. Right, so the float that sits in bowl here actually pivots on a little spindle that runs through there, so the head of it is there, so we need to remove that, but again that's this kind of anti-tamper things like the dash pot and the float ball. So I use the Dremel here. You won't get a hacksaw blade in there, so I use a Dremel with a little cutting disc on it, but I use a really worn down one so it's really small. You can get in there perfectly, cut a little slot in it, and then you can get your screwdriver in. and out it comes. So that's the little spindle it sits on. You'll need to reuse that again as that doesn't come in the kit, so put that in there. And out comes the float itself. You need to retain that, so we'll put that to one side up there. Then there's inside the float chamber is a little needle valve. That's what actually allows the fuel into the float chamber in combination with the float moving up and down. That opens the needle valve on and off its seat to keep fuel in the chamber. That just comes out. There's the little needle valve. There'll be a new one of them in the kit. They tend to wear on the point there. That one's quite worn. They wear on the seat and then they don't seat properly. Well, there is a new one in the kit, so we don't really need that, but we'll just chuck that in there for now. The next bit will be to actually remove the seat that the needle valve sits on, and then we remove the jet holder there. So that's next. So now we're going to replace the seat for the needle valve, which is there. That new one in the kit, like I say. So 1/2 inch socket. It can be quite tight if you've sat in there for a long time. It wasn't so bad. It just screws out there. So there we go, simple as that. So we'll put that to one side. Next to remove is the retainer for the jet holder there. 5/8 socket for this one. Again, just the same procedure. Pop that on. It can be quite tight. Wasn't so bad. That just screws out. You can then push the tube out for the jet. I'll probably have to do it from the other end and give it a little bit of a tap, and then it'll just push out. So we've got a suitable size punch. There's only brass is the jet holder, so make sure it's a decent fit, and you're not going to have to whack it too hard, so just a gentle tap on the end. There we go. So that's that removed. That doesn't actually come in the kit, so you'll need to return that. You don't actually need to remove that to rebuild it, but I like to strip it right down, then you can give the carb a proper clean and check everything before you put it back together, so it's just worth taking that off. Next we're going to remove the choke mechanism, which is this part here. So you need to, there's like a little lock tab there. You just need to get a fine screwdriver, bend those back, and then undo this nut, which is 7/16. So let's get a fine screwdriver. You should be able to gently wedge that behind there. That's one bit. There we go. Right, 7/16 on that. And that just comes off. Pop that to one side. Get rid of the lock tab. They're in the kit, so we don't really need that, but put that to one side. Now I've removed that, just need to work the choke mechanism off. Just give it a good wobble around, and you can easily lever them off without too much problem. There we go. There's a spring behind it, so just watch that doesn't go flying off. So there's the mechanism. The arm, you'll need to retain that, and there's a spring that sits behind it. So you'll need to retain that as well, so we need to put them to one side. And then we get to this bit. So there's a seal there, you can see. It sits in the body, so we need to prise that seal out next. Right, so we're going to remove this seal next, so I'm going to use this fine pick. You've just got to be careful, you don't slip and mark any of the body where the seal sits. This one's gone pretty hard. These seals go like really brittle over time, so that's like it's like a rock hard bit of plastic. They're obviously supposed to be the hard rubber, but they go hard with the fuel and the heat, so that's completely solid, so that's completely scrap, and the whole reason why we're rebuilding this car for that kind of reason. Next is to take this little cover plate off here. That'll just rattle off. Give that a shake. There you go. We'll need to keep that, put that to one side. And there's two little retaining screws now that sit on, that hold the part of the choke mechanism, the plate on there. Again, appropriate. They're already cut. They're normal screws, flat blade screws. So screw them out as normal. Sometimes they're in pretty tight. You've got to be careful they don't shear off. So if you do get one that's tight, instead of trying to unscrew it all in one go, try and unscrew it a little bit, and then work it back the other way, and then back again, and back and forth, and you can quite often work them out without snapping them off then. There's the second one, and you can pull the choke mechanism out there. There we go. So you'll need that, so put that to one side. That's that stripped out. Next we're going to take the throttle arm and the throttle spindle and disc out. So there's a nut either side, and again, not there, and then these little lock tabs. So just bend the lock tabs back. Bend them out the way. Do the other one. That side. There we go. And again, 7/16 spanner. That's that one off. To the side. That one off. Right, and it's just a matter of jiggling the arms off, and that one's pretty loose, so straight off with that one. Can be quite tight like the short one was before. This one's a bit tighter. Just jiggle that off. Again, there's springs behind them, so just watch your fingers and watch it doesn't go flying when you take it off. There we go. So that's that one. There's a little one there on the side that sits behind the throttle arm on. That's the one to hold, just to hold the spring there. That might need some more persuasion. There we go. That's that one off. And the spring. There's some little plastic washers there that sit behind against the seal, one from each side, so they don't come in the kit, but I actually refit them, so I always retain them. Just put them to one side. Next we're going to remove the throttle disc. Yeah, the screws that hold the butterfly there, if we can see there, they have like a slot in the end, and you flare the ends out, so to stop the screws falling out. Obviously you don't want to be your engine digesting the screw out of your butterfly there, so they're flared out. So just take a pair of pliers, just give them a bit of a tweak, squeeze them back together on there, and then they should turn the butterfly round, and they should just screw out the other side. There we go. So take that out. The one. There's new ones of those in the kit, so but again we'll just put them to one side for now. That comes out. You can then remove the throttle disc. This is got what's commonly known as a poppet valve in it, so there's a little spring-loaded valve in there, as you can see. They're a pretty big restriction to airflow, and they're also a nuisance if the spring becomes weak under time. They can cause all kinds of running issues. So the kit actually comes with a solid disc in, so it gets rid of that completely, so you can pretty much just chuck that in the bin. And then now the throttle spindle will actually just pull out the side there. There's one of the seals. And there's a seal on both sides. You need to make sure you get these the right way around when we rebuild it. I'll mention it when we get to the rebuild stage, but they go the opposite way around on a turbo carb than they do on a normally aspirated carb. Again, they're so old, they're like a piece of plastic, so they're for the bin. And there's the throttle shaft. They tend to wear. This one's not too horrendous, but you can feel a little bit of a step there where they wear in the bushes on the body, but again the kit comes with that, so that'll be going in the bin as well. So the last couple of bits, there's the idle screw which sits inside the body there. Just need to get rid of that. That'll come up so far as it comes as the thread screws out, and then you won't be able to get it out, so you have to give it a bit of persuasion from the other side. A little punch there, just needs a gentle tap. There we go, that's that out, so we'll put that to one side. And then there's the mixture screw which sits in there. Again, the same scenario, it'll come out so far, and then it might need a bit of help. This one's quite hard to reach and it doesn't want to come out, so I'm just going to get an Allen key there and I can put that in, get into the hole, and then if I put some weight on the Allen key, the back of the Allen key, it's sitting in the hole there, I can push that with my finger while I screw that. There we go, it's coming out now. That's it, there we go. So that's pretty much the entire carb stripped down. There's just one thing here, there's a seal on the turbo carb as it's round underneath the dash pot that actually sits in the body of the carb there. Just need to pluck that out. So just again get our little pick and just draw that out. That's gone completely rock solid, that should be soft rubber, but again that's like a piece of plastic, so get rid of that. And that's pretty much the entire carb body stripped down now. So that's everything stripped out the body apart from the throttle spindle bushes. Right, for this last bit you need a punch that's exactly the right size. If it's too big it obviously won't pass through and you'll just be mashing the carb body, and if it's too small it'll go right through the bush. It's quite a fine bush, so this is perfect size. If you haven't got one, I believe if you contact AC Dodd on Facebook, I'm sure he used to sell them, so worth having a word with him. So that's I've got one here that's spot on, that fits the OD of the bush perfectly, so put that on there. I'm just going to put the carb body on a bit of wood here so we don't damage it, and then it's just basically a matter of lining the punch up with the bush, giving it a bit of a tap. There we go. that's the first one out. So that's all it is, just a little metal bush. As you can see, they're quite fine. And there's just one in each side. They go in the bin. You get new ones in the kit. So again, that can just go in the rubbish. Then round to this side. Same thing, straight onto there. Give it a bit of a tap. And there we go, that's the second one out. You don't need to use a big hammer, you're not braying the hell out of it, it's pretty easy to get out, so you can see just a little dinky hammer there and just gentle taps so you don't do any damage. And that's come out clean. So that's the entire body strip down there, there's nothing left on it, so I'm gonna now put that in a bath of thinners and leave that to soak for a day to get all the grime and stuff off it. You could get it vapor blasted or something like that if you really wanted to go to that kind of expense, but I'm not bothered. It's not a show car. As long as it's clean and everything's in good condition and it works properly, that's good enough for me. So with the throttle body completely stripped, the last thing to do is just get the dash pot at the end. There's just a little kind of like wire circlip on the end there. You can just squeeze that off. There we go. And you can withdraw the dash pot from inside the chamber there. There's a spring in there. So it just means we can give that a good clean out, make sure it's not scored or anything or it's been sticking anywhere. So make sure everything's just clean and tidy and good to go. So that's everything there, completely stripped down. I'm going to leave that in a big bath of thinners for a day or so, let it start soaking, and then I'll give it a good clean over. A good scrub up, and then in part 2 we're going to completely rebuild it using this genuine SU complete rebuild kit. So join us for part 2. Hope you've enjoyed part 1. See you soon.